The night was cold in the small town of Paradise, Colorado. There was no sound aside from the nearby Interstate 70 that ran through the town. There was hardly any light coming from a particular cul-de-sac, except for a couple of houses, one in which was sitting across from a parked black sedan. Inside the sedan were 5 teenagers. "Alright," says the guy in the passenger seat. "You got this one, Logan." Logan, who sat in the driver's seat, grabs a plastic bag full of some substance and plugs his nose. "Oh man, this crap stinks! Mr. Medic is gonna kill us if he finds out about this." "It's what he gets for failing us on the test," the passenger replies. "Am I right?" They all laugh and high-five each other, but Logan's laugh wanes. "Wait, he didn't fail me." "Well, he failed us," the passenger remarks. "You gonna let that slide?" Heck no," Logan replies. "Nobody messes with Alonzo Juarez, right?" Alonzo nods. "That's right. Now get going before someone sees us." Logan laughs as he puts up his hood, hurries out to the front porch, places the bag on the doorstep, and lights it on fire. In a snap, he rings the doorbell. He dashes back to the car just before the teacher opens the door and sees the fire. The teacher stomps it out in a panic, smearing dog poop all over his slipper. The group laughs hysterically. Alonzo pats Logan on the chest. "Pull around and drive past him." Logan hesitates. "Shouldn't we just go?" "Come on, man, just do it!" Logan does so, placing the passenger in direct view of the teacher. Logan leaned back against his headrest, hoping to hide his face. Alonzo rolled down his window and shouted, "That's what you get! You don't mess with Alonzo Juarez!" Everyone in the car erupted in revelry except for Logan. The teacher shook his fist at them. "You utter pieces of shit!" Alonzo cuts him off by reaching over and spamming the horn. "I can't hear you!" The group keeps laughing as they drive away, but Logan wasn't. He was haunted by the utter contempt in that teacher's voice. In Idaho Falls, the three enter a cheap-looking motel, but as Logan tried to pay for a room, he froze, because he realized he had run out of cash. Caden recognizes the panic in his brother's demeanor and reluctantly hands him some of his own cash. Logan looks at the money and then back at Caden in disbelief. Caden's lips tighten as he closes his eyes and slowly nods his head. "Thank you," Logan says. They enter the room and shut and lock the door. Caden slumps down onto the edge of one of the beds while Logan paces around the room. Ursa just stood off to the side with a contemplative look on her face. "Oh man, oh man, oh man," Logan mutters. "My car is toast! How are we supposed to get to Phoenix now?"
"Calm down, Logan. We will find another way. At least now we know exactly where to find Maverick."
"Yeah," Logan replies. "But none of that information is useful if we can't even get down there. How much time do you even think we have?"
"I would have to suppose that we have very little. With every passing day under this imbalanced magnetosphere, the Earth is being exposed to an increased amount of solar radiation."
"Hold up. Is that why it's been so warm lately?" Caden asks.
"Yes,"
Ursa replies.
"and it will progressively get worse. Weather patterns will soon reach extreme levels as the magnetosphere tries to rebalance itself."
What?" Caden exclaims.
"Do not worry. I will ensure that will never happen."
She shakes her head.
"I cannot fathom why Maverick would do this in the first place."
Everyone just sat or stood quietly in that dimly lit room for a moment until Logan's phone started to ring. He pulled it out from his pocket. "Don't answer it!" Caden shouts. "Hold on. It's Hope," Logan says with a smile. He answers the phone and his smile quickly fades into a look of shock. "Wait, what?" He goes over to the small dresser where an older TV sat and he turns it on to a random news broadcast. As everyone turned their attention to the TV, a sense of tremendous dread filled the room. The broadcast displayed live footage of the hospital in Kalispell with its parking lot wrapped with police tape. There were shots of the shattered window that Ursa broke through, as well as a host of officers scanning the scene. A news reporter detailed the events that happened earlier that day.
"An unidentified patient here at this hospital has gone missing under very mysterious circumstances. Officials are suspecting an abduction for purposes of human trafficking, but security camera footage and local eyewitnesses suggest something much more peculiar.
The broadcast proceeded to show the footage of the battle Ursa had with the sentries, causing her to lower her head and cover her eyes. A reporter on the scene spoke with a man who was supposedly a local resident who saw the whole event play out.
Yeah, I saw the whole thing. There were these 3 metal dudes fighting a hospital patient. She took them all down with her ice powers. Pew 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 pew!
Then they displayed a cropped image of Caden and Logan taken from the security footage.
These 2 individuals were caught fleeing the scene in a black 1990 sedan,
the reporter commented. Logan, who was still on the phone with Hope, cups his hand over his mouth. Caden sat still on the bed behind him, his jaw dropped wide open. Logan uses the remote to surf across other news channels, which were displaying similar pieces of content. The one he stopped on showed a man in FBI garb being interviewed by a reporter.
This should be no cause of concern for the public, he said. What people seem to think is some kind of supernatural occurrence is nothing more than just some extravagant show put on as a cover for some criminals and their suspicious activity.
The eyewitness from earlier came running up.
No, it's real! I saw it! I saw it!
A pair of officers immediately pull him away.
"Was that you guys?"
Hope asks Logan.
Of course not!
Logan replies. Why would you think that?
"Probably because that's your face? What's going on?"
As he tried to formulate a response, his phone started ringing again, and he saw it was his mother. Clearly panicking, he just lets it ring out as he tries to explain the situation to Hope.
Look, we were there, but we didn't do anything wrong. We were just bystanders.
As Logan kept talking to Hope, Caden's phone rang, and once he saw it was his mother, he answered.
Hey, Mom, how's it going?
She says,
"I'm doing well. Where are you two?"
You know,
Caden replies.
Just hanging out at Logan's place.
Logan overhears this and shakes his head violently. Caden suddenly remembers they were actually still supposed to be in the cabin at this point, but he forgot since the day felt so long.
Oh, I'm in the cabin. Sorry, I'm just so exhausted. I don't know where my head's at.
"That's okay,"
she says.
"Can I speak to Logan?"
Oh, he's kind of busy at the moment.
"Can he just talk for a couple of minutes?"
Caden glances over at Logan, who looked like his eyes were going to shoot out of their sockets.
No, he can't.
"Okay, will you tell him something for me, please?"
Yeah, sure.
"Tell him that he can always come home. We worry about him and we miss him so much."
Caden continues staring in Logan's direction, watching him pace back and forth like a madman. Yeah, I'll tell him.
"Thank you. I love you."
Yeah, love you too. Bye. Caden looks down and tosses his phone aside.
Look, I gotta go,
Logan says to his girlfriend.
I'm fine, we're fine, don't believe the media, fake news, goodbye.
Shut off your phone, Cade, Logan says with restrained tears welling up in his eyes. Now the FBI and the entire country is definitely onto us. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse. He heads into the bathroom and shuts the door behind him.
"Was your mother also asking about the news broadcast?"
Ursa inquires. Caden shakes his head slowly and explains to her how his conversation went.
"Was Logan not allowed to come home before?"
No, he was, Caden replies. He just hasn't been home in a while, and I'm not entirely sure why. It might have something to do with his past.
"Is this in regard to his pranks against you?"
No, well, kinda. Ugh, I'm not sure if I should even say. Ursa nods quietly. Hey, when that one guy flew off with you, I mean, if they were to really take you away from us, what would happen?
"I would likely not live for very long. Even when the magnetosphere is balanced and I am at full power, I lose some strength in places like Phoenix."
No, I mean, what would happen to the Spirit of the North? Would there be another one if something happened to you? Ursa pauses and turns slightly away from Caden. The blue city lights emanated through the sheer curtains and onto her face.
To be completely honest with you, I do not know.
An unsettling silence filled the room. And you need to go down to Phoenix anyway to restore the pole?
Yes.
Caden gulps as he runs his fingers through his hair. He could feel the tension of the situation weighing on him like a bag of bricks. Maybe we should try to catch a plane going down there, Caden says, thinking out loud. That won't work, Logan says, exiting the bathroom. We each need an ID to fly, and Ursa doesn't have one. Not to mention, it'll give the FBI a hit on our location. Then we should hitchhike or something. Logan scratches his head.
Perhaps you two should get some rest, and we can decide in the morning. I will keep watch.
Ursa, the feds could be tracking us as we speak, Logan says.
I understand that, which is why I will notify you if I suspect anything.
Caden and Logan glance at each other's exhausted eyes and nod in agreement. As they each climb into bed and doze off to sleep, Ursa peeks through the curtains, keeping an eye out for any sentries. She had supposed that, according to his behavior thus far, Maverick could have numerous sentries. Despite the weight of her circumstances, she felt relatively calm. As she looked out at the skyline and listened to the brothers behind her snore, she took long and deep breaths. She unknowingly starts to doze off. As her head starts leaning forward and her eyes start to close, her forehead bounced against the window, snapping her back awake. She shakes her head with a look of surprise.
Ow!
She mutters as she places her hand on her neck and rubs it.
What is this feeling?
She thinks to herself. She glances at Caden and Logan, who are still fast asleep, before trudging into the bathroom and looking in the mirror. She was dismayed to see the reflection of her dirty face and unkempt hair, but she was utterly horrified to see the bruise marks forming around her neck. As she traced the bruise with her fingers, her eyes darted back and forth between the door and the mirror. She started backing up towards the shower and turned the water on to fully cold. Early the next morning, Caden and Logan awoke to see Ursa sitting quietly on a chair near the window. They noticed she no longer had soot on her face, but she had her hair down and unusually close to her neck. The brothers each take a quick shower before they all check out in the motel office. That's when Logan spotted an ATM. He briefly checks his surroundings before stepping up to the machine and sliding his card into it. What are you doing? Caden asks. Won't that let the feds know where we are? Yeah, probably, Logan mutters. But we need the money. I'll pull enough cash just to get us a bus or a taxi down to Phoenix. If this doesn't make me go bankrupt, I don't know what will. Logan punches in the required information, making his heart rate spike. The ATM loads for a moment, but ultimately, his card gets declined. He tries again, but it comes down to the same result. Crap! Did they shut your card off? Caden asks. No, I think I'm just broke. He quickly removes his card and they flee. The group walks through the city as the sun rises on the eastern horizon. After several minutes, they reached a gas station that sat to the side of an interstate on-ramp. Hey, I got an idea, says Caden. After entering and exiting the convenience store, the three stood outside on the sidewalk as Caden held up a piece of cardboard that said, Phoenix or bust. Well, this is embarrassing, Logan grumbles, causing Caden to scowl. Well, I don't see you coming up with anything. Caden knew in the back of his mind that this wouldn't work, but he couldn't think of any other way to reach their destination. Suddenly, a car horn goes off as a red half-ton pickup truck with a white trailer pulls up to them. The old man driving the car rolls down the passenger side window. He had short gray hair and a plump, stocky build. He says, Hey there! Are you guys from Phoenix too? Yes? No, Caden stammers. We're just headed down there for Christmas, but our car broke down. Oh, well that's too bad, says the old man. You wouldn't happen to be going down there, would you? Caden asks. Yes, sir, I am. Would you like a ride? Logan's jaw drops as he turns to face Caden, who shoots him a smirk. Ursa just stood off to the side, staring at the ground. Sure, we'll take a ride, Logan replies. Thanks. Alrighty, the old man says. Toss your stuff in the back and hop in. As they put their stuff into the bed of the old man's truck, Caden notices Ursa's dark demeanor. He almost asks her what's wrong, but he spots a police car nearby, sending a wave of panic through his frame. He hurriedly climbs inside the cab. The old man reaches over and opens the passenger side door, reaching out his hand to Logan. The name's Lewis! Lewis Perman. Logan, he says as he shakes his hand and climbs into the passenger seat. And you two are? Caden. Ursa hesitates for a moment.
Ursa.
Pleased to meet ya! Lewis replies as he shifts the truck into gear and drives off. So how old are you guys? I'm 19, Logan says. Caden's eyes narrow towards Logan. 19? Since when? I'm 15, he replies. And you? Lewis asks, looking at Ursa through the rearview mirror. Ursa looks back at him quietly. Something about his stare was unnerving to her. She replies,
I am also 15.
How funny, Lewis replies. I would have thought otherwise with that white hair of yours. Then came that unnerving look again. He was the only one laughing.
I have a rare condition,
Ursa says, staring back at his eyes. Caden glances at Ursa's hair and barely notices the color black forming at her roots. So are you three related? Lewis asks. Yeah, Logan responds. We're, siblings. Those two are twins. Ursa and Caden exchange glances. So where are you from? Montana. Logan nods rapidly while peeking back at Caden and Ursa. So how'd your car break down? Oh, you know, I just forgot to change the oil. As Logan says this, Caden sees in the truck's right mirror a police car right behind them. Where's your car now? I know a thing or two about motors. It's in the shop, getting worked on. They said I destroyed the motor though, and it's gonna take weeks to get fixed. Oh, that's a shame. Well, it's a good thing I ran into you three. Otherwise, something terrible could have happened. Lewis gives Logan a side glance before looking back at Ursa through the mirror. The three all exchange uneasy looks as Ursa reaches for the door handle. Caden gulps as he sees this. He locks eyes with her and mouths, "Run for it?" Ursa nods slowly. Logan sees this and subtly hovers his hand over the lock switch. Suddenly, the police officer behind them turns on his siren lights and urges Lewis to pull over. "Crap!" Lewis mutters. He stops and the cop walks up to his window. "You three, stay calm." Logan's hand retracts from the lock switch and Caden's from the door handle, but Ursa keeps her hand in place. "How are you doing, officer? How can I help you?" As the officer scans the cab, the three passengers avoid making eye contact. Caden even looks down at his blank phone as if it weren't deactivated. "I'm doing well, sir," the officer replies. "How are you?" "I'm doing great," Lewis replies. Caden and Logan gulp quietly as Ursa takes deep, long breaths. "Sir," the officer continued, "are you aware that one of your taillights is out?" "Oh, really?" Lewis glances back at his trailer. "I wasn't aware of that." "May I see your license, proof of insurance, and registration, please?" "Certainly." Lewis reaches over to the glove box, and as he grabs the papers, he makes brief eye contact with Logan. Lewis shoots him a wink, which catches him off guard. Lewis then grabs his driver's license and hands everything over to the officer, who takes it all back to his patrol car. Ursa gives Caden and Logan a piercing stare as she clutches onto the door handle. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Lewis says, turning back to face Ursa. She gives him a cold stare as she peels her hand off the handle. "Okay, sorry about all the theatrics. I tend to get a little bit carried away. Anyway, I heard all about what happened in Kalispell, and oh boy was I glad to see you on the street back there. I want to know everything!" "What? Why?" "Because I am so fascinated by other worlds and all sorts of paranormal phenomena." He looks back at Ursa. "You're like an alien, right?"
More or less.
"Oh, I knew you existed!" Lewis chuckles with glee. Caden furrows his brow as Logan feels a little smile tug its way onto his face. Then the cop suddenly appears at the window. "Alright, sir, you're all set," he says. "Where are you headed off to?" "Jackson." Logan furrows his eyebrows.
Well, just get your lights fixed when you get over there, alright? Will do! The officer nods, but before he turns away, he gives Ursa a very quick, accusatory glance. Ursa averts her eyes from the officer. Wait, Jackson? Logan asks as Lewis rolls his window back up. Wyoming? You told us you were going to Phoenix. I am, Lewis replies. I just need to drive through Jackson for business. Logan's eyes nervously bounce from Ursa to Caden and then back to Lewis. Why didn't you tell us that before? Look, I didn't mean to mislead anybody. I just really wanted you to get in my truck. Caden and Logan exchange disturbed glances. Not like that, Lewis shakes his head. The point is, I'm a faithful friend to our interplanetary allies, so I want to help you in any way I can. We appreciate it, Logan says, but we need to get down there as soon as possible. The fate of the world is at stake, Caden adds. Lewis momentarily looks back at Ursa before turning towards the brothers. Well, lucky for you, I have an old military buddy in Jackson, who just so happens to be a pilot. He can get you down to Phoenix in no time. That's a really generous offer, but we can't fly, Logan says. The government's onto us and Ursa doesn't have any identification. That's okay, he has a private plane, Lewis replies. Besides, he owes me a favor. And you're sure he'll be there? Caden asks. Oh yeah, he's always there this time of year. Logan turns to Caden, who shrugs. So what do you say? Lewis asks. The brothers turn to Ursa, who sat with a look of frustration and reluctance painted on her face. Clearly, Lewis wasn't going to turn them in. He had ample opportunity a few moments ago. Let's do it, Caden replies, giving a reassuring nod to his friends. Awesome! Lewis exclaims, kicking his truck into motion. As they zoom down the road and towards the Teton Mountains, he says, We got quite a drive ahead of us, so please, tell me everything!